Welcome back. You are here with our Master J, and today we are doing a comic book review of Plague Seeker Volume 1 from the mind of Jackson Clark and Charlie White, aka Moist Critical, and published by Bad Egg. The book starts off by reprinting Volume 0 with slightly adjusted coloring combined with a different paper finish that brightens up the art. Volume 0 covers the premise of the book along with some world building. Quick overview is that a meteor hit Earth in an event that referred to as the Calamity, which killed lots of people and then turned many of the survivors of the event into bloodthirsty monsters called plagues. There are specifically 8 great plagues that have taken over regions of the planet as their domain. But one specific plague, which was born out of the impact site, was the Plague Seeker, who has a hunger to devour the 8 great plagues. If you're interested in a more detailed review of Volume 0, check out my review linked below. We were brought into Volume 1 with a survivor, still human at the moment, narrating the story by the name of Silas as he watches his village be destroyed by plagues. But he is miraculously saved by who he figures out is the Plague Seeker. After the Plague Seeker saves his life, he musters the courage to demand the Plague Seeker allow him to follow and fight along his side against the plagues. Plague Seeker allows this but makes it clear that Silas's life is not going to be anything he concerns himself with. After a day of travels, they arrive at another village that is being raided by plagues, with this village in particular being attacked by the Butcher of Bloodsworth. I do not believe this is one of the 8 great plagues, so I will refer to him as a boss plague for now. Plague Seeker and the Butcher engage in a fight to the death, and while this takes place, Silas is able to be victorious in his own confrontation with the plague. This allows him to take his new confidence and kill craving to assist with the fight against the Butcher. Plague Seeker is able to defeat the Butcher and devours his remains to try and fulfill his unquenchable hunger. But to Silas's horror, Plague Seeker does not care for the surviving humans and leaves the village to be burned and continue to be destroyed by the remaining plagues. So before jumping into the story review, I want to first address the art and overall story aesthetic. Vamkire Trannel did an incredible job with the artwork. Each page is a horror epic of death and destruction. If you're into dark themes, blood and gore, this is the book for you. Every pair of pages has some sort of combat engagement that leads to continuous blood flow throughout the story, which leads to a fun spectacle the entire read. One comment I had for issue 0 was that I thought the art was just too dark, so a lot of the details within the artwork ended up getting lost. But due to those color adjustments and the paper change, it seemed that a lot of my previous issue had been resolved. All of Vamkire Trannel's socials are linked below. As for the story, this first book was a solid setup to provide clear understanding of what drives the Plague Seeker and clearly defines that this story is going to be about the brutal reality of a world destroyed by the Calamity. The story being told from a survivor's point of view versus Plague Seekers is a neat perspective that I did not expect. It allows us, the readers, to learn about Plague Seeker in the same way the world does. So by not getting any internal dialogue from Plague Seeker, we will only learn what he wants us to learn by his actions and the limited things he's willing to say. I do worry with how this is being set up, we won't get to learn much about the Great Plagues, specifically who the Great Plagues were before the Calamity, including Plague Seeker. I had previously wondered if who the Great Plagues were prior to the Calamity influenced their survival and who they are now. Did it take your worst traits and exemplify them times 10? Were all these people just terrible people and they ended up surviving because of that terribleness? Or were they all actually very good people that now have to live with being monsters? I just think it would have been an interesting development of the Great Plagues to learn what they are based off who they were. But because of the point of view of the story being the survivor, I don't believe that's something the writing team is going to consider. One thing that was a little tough to follow is what are the power levels for Plague Seeker, plagues, boss plagues, great plagues, and just people in general. Plague Seeker can take some insane damage and not even seem phased. Does he have super healing? Is he even alive? Does he have insides? Because there was a few dagger slices that made him look like he should have been gutted, but he handled them with no issues. His clothes are even intact after the altercation. So clearly Plague Seeker is very strong and does not appear to take permanent damage, but being that all the other plagues appear to be mortal, does he rise above as an immortal god? Can he actually die? What powers do the other great plagues hold? I was also very surprised that a normal human survivor, having just been on the move for a day and claimed to be exhausted, could lift and body slam a plague to get a head explosion insta-kill. I can imagine in this world that all survivors have some fighting skills as they were always on the run for their lives, but if plagues can be killed off somewhat easily, are these villages really that ill-equipped to fend off small hordes? Silas is even able to fight the boss plague that allows Plagueseeker to jump in and get the kill shot. Is everyone on Earth actually part plague? With some being monsters and some keeping their humanity? As in, do they all have some level of enhanced strength? Will we meet a human army at some point that's rising up against the plagues? In short, I would just like to see the power levels of the world become a little bit more clear. So with all that, I have Plagueseeker Volume 1 at a 6 out of 10. I really do like the setup of the world and the Plagueseeker himself, but being at the Plagueseeker right now is based to be a bloodthirsty plague murdering machine. I wonder how much character and story will actually follow. Will Silas be able to carry the story on his own? Will we get some development, or is this just going to be a Vamkire Trannel art showcase with little substance? We will have to wait and see. So what did you think of Plagueseeker Volume 1? Let me know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe. And with that, have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are on this crazy world. And as always, GG.